Well, if you can't tell, we are diving back into the K-swapped Cefiro build. Super, super exciting. So we picked up the K24A2 last video. Our Toge factory swap kit just showed up today, which I wasn't expecting this stuff for like another week. So that puts us ahead of schedule. We're moving along a lot quicker than we thought. We've already got the car stripped down, motor out, bay cleaned, all the junk that we're not gonna use out. And we got everything we need to keep trucking along. We do need to get a trans. I'm hoping to pick one up today or tomorrow, but for the most part, we got the bulk of our parts. So we need to get this engine stripped down, get all the stuff off it that we're not gonna use, and we need to dive into these boxes and check out the swap kit because I've only seen this stuff online. It looks incredible. I'm really, really excited to see it in person. So let's do that first. We'll make this quick. Do the old snapperooski. Oh man, dude, I am blown away by the quality of this stuff. This stuff is incredible looking. I mean, did not disappoint, not one bit, man. I am so excited about this build, and I'm even more excited about it now seeing all these parts together. I just want to give a shout out to TF Works Toge Factory for coming out with this kit and pricing it so affordably. Now, I went above and beyond. I got their freaking super nice turbo manifold because this thing looks incredible. I thought about building my own, but after seeing this, I'm like, dude, I'm just going to get theirs because that thing, I mean, it's got a freaking cast collector. It's a solid unit. I also went with their twin disc clutch. We got their adapter plate to a ZF trans, but moral of the story is I think it's awesome that they came out with a swap kit for these motors into the S chassis and priced it so affordably while building it so high quality. I mean, the freaking motor mounts are billet. I've never seen a swap kit with billet motor mounts because they're all too expensive and they're not something I would ever buy. And like really the best price K-series swap kit you can get comes with freaking billet motor mounts. Like it's crazy. They just went above and beyond everywhere. And the ability to K-swap an S chassis now, and I think they're working on E30, FRS. I mean, I don't even know how many cars they're working on, but that is just a game changer. Like it opens up so many doors for enthusiasts because, you know, the days of old of getting SRs and RBs and stuff like that, the supply is drying up. Those engines are like 30 years old now. So they're getting harder to find, they're getting more expensive, harder to find parts for, whereas you can go buy a K24A2, which is like the cream of the crop K-series motor for like $900, $1,000 at an importer. I mean, I don't even know how many they had there, but they had a freaking pile of them. $1,000 all day. And you can freaking put some valve springs in it, rev it over 9,000 RPM. They make like 200, 230 horsepower NA with very minimal mods. I mean, it's an incredible engine. In my opinion, it's one of the best engines ever made. So the ability to swap that into an S chassis or an A chassis or something like that is just, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. So anyway, I'm kind of a car nerd and this opens up so many doors for these cars and builds and options and what you can do. And at the end of the day, I think it should lead to people driving more because they'll have a more reliable engine. They'll have a stouter setup. And if they have a stouter setup, should brake less, they should drive more. And I am all for that. So I'll stop rambling on, but just shout out to Toge Factory for putting in the legwork to design and build this swap kit and doing such an incredible job executing it. So anyway, now that we have all that stuff unwrapped, it is time to push the K-series outside, get it cleaned up. We'll clean it up before we take it apart so everything's kind of nice and closed up. We also got to pressure wash the S13 subframe I picked up from a buddy of mine. So I can kind of show you why we needed this subframe. So see where the engine slots are now. There's the steering rack, right? Now if you look on this car, instead of the engine mount slot being here, it's all the way up here because it's designed for an RB. So that is the reason why we had to buy a separate subframe. So we'll get this thing cleaned up and painted and throw it in here a little bit. So I've been talking way too much, guys. Way too much. Let's get to work. All right, let this thing dry overnight. It's looking pretty spiffy for just a quick pressure wash. But before we tear into this, we need to get some paint on this. Luckily, the sun is blasting right now, so should make this easy. Having black spray paint in the shop is like having brake clean. It's a commodity. and before you know it, your several cams will be reduced to one. All right, looking shiny. Let that dry. This stuff takes forever to dry. One part of the harness detached. Oh, also almost forgot because we're just starting this back up again, but we have merch now. One of those things that has been on the to-do list for a very, very long time, but my main goal is I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to have control over it. Before I did it through a fulfillment company, and I just never felt connected to it. You know, it was kind of like they had the final say on designs and how much to stock and what we could use and not use, and I didn't like that. I wanted to do it myself, but obviously there's only so much capacity in my brain at a running time for ordering parts, planning builds, thinking about it, planning videos, working on cars, filming, editing. It's just hard to keep track of it all, but I finally got it done. Finally got some designs made from a guy named Mr. Fom, so that's his handle. But he has incredible artwork. He did some really cool designs. We got 4 shirts up. So yeah, they're on the website now for a pre-order. The pre-order will be about another 2 weeks, and then they should ship about 2 weeks after that. We should be able to get it quicker once we get through the first section and the first chunk of orders. But yeah, very, very exciting time. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, supporting trying to buy a house with a shop and all the things we're trying to do here, definitely check them out, see if there's anything you like. For those of you that were asking, we finally have merch available. So that being said, it's time to get back to work. Got a hose, got a straggler. Okay, things starting to look like the K-series I've come to know and love. Apparently they didn't drain the oil in this. I'm glad I checked because I was like, nah, they had to have drained it. I was about to flip it over and pull the pan off. Been there, done that. Didn't make that mistake this time. Oh jeez, this thing is incredibly top heavy with how I have it loaded on here. All right, the oil drain. I want to pop the valve cover before we flip her over. Start diving into oil pan and timing cover stuff. So it's just the gasket. My first time looking in the head of an old K-series. About as clean as you could possibly expect. It's so weird seeing the VTEC system. So for those of you who don't know, basically VTEC, I think this is how it works. So you've got these 2 lobes. These are kind of like the normal driving non-VTEC lobes. So they're not very aggressive. So you get that the low end and stuff of not having an aggressive cam, and then VTEC is the bigger lobe here. So it's kind of like you have 2 cams in one. You have a non-aggressive cam for street drivability, low end, and whatever. Then when VTEC kicks in, it's like you put a set of more aggressive cams in with bigger lobes, higher lift, longer duration. Don't quote me on that. I've never looked into how VTEC works, but that's just my assumption based off looking at it. Oh, that's nifty. Oh, don't drop the keyway. All right, pan next. Oh no. Gotta pull this rear water neck off before we can flip the motor over. That's kind of funny. Alright, so this is one thing we're gonna have to change: the oil pump assembly here. So obviously this is a massive unit. We've got to change this. As you can see, so this is the front, this is the rear. Our oil pump, we kind of have basically this area right here for our oil pump to fit. Obviously that big Johnny's not gonna fit back here, that's too shallow, so there's no chance of fitting this within the pan. Luckily, from Toge Factory, we have a K20 Type S oil pump adapter and a pickup tube right here. So this will allow us to convert to a K20 Type S oil pump instead of this giant Johnny with these balance shafts and such. That'll not only give us the clearance to fit our nice rear-wheel drive pan, but will allow us to rev higher. I talked to Kyle from the Boosted Boys. He gave me a lot of good info, and the first thing he said when I was asking him, how high can I rev it, what do I need to do, was oil pump. You gotta change the oil pump to a K20 because the K20 is naturally designed to rev higher. Pumps on these K24s are the kind of the first limiting factor to revving it high. Once you change the oil pump, I think he said 8,600 safely. And then from there, if you want to go higher than that, we've got to do valve springs and retainers, which I didn't want to do that at first, but I mean, like, half the fun of a K-Series is the fact that you can rev it to the moon. It'd at least be nice to have the safety to rev it to 9,500 and like be able to bounce limiter at 8,500 or so. So anyway, I think I'm going to do that. Need to get those parts ordered, but I do have the oil pump stuff ordered. Unfortunately, oversight on my part, I did not order it ahead of time. I didn't even think about it. So we are waiting on that, but we've got pretty much everything else we need. So we're pretty much wrapped up with the engine, what we can do right now. I will say really happy with the engine itself. Everything looks really good. I mean, the pickup tube screen doesn't have any debris in it. There wasn't a bunch of staining in the head. It looks like the motor's never been open. It looks like it's sealed from the factory, wasn't messed with, which is a really good sign. I'm a firm believer in the OEM stuff lasts. So we're kind of done with that for now. So what we're gonna do is move back onto the car because we do have some stuff we can knock out on this to get it ready for Lake Hay series. So first thing I gotta do though is clean up some of this junk, get my LS Miata out of here, dive in. What? What, Sands? You just telling the people you got a new shirt? Are you excited about your shirt, Sandy? Yeah, I mean, it is exciting, but the camera wasn't even on when you were yelling at him. You gotta wait till the camera's on to yell at him. I don't think we make a size small enough for you, Sands. All right, so what we need to do is swap in our S13 subframe. We need to get this one out, S13 one in. My plan is to try to kind of leave everything hanging in here and just like hot swap the subframe, kind of leave the control arms hanging and the steering rack hanging, just kind of unbolt them. I don't know how well that's gonna work, but I mean, we're gonna try. Worst case, we'll have to unbolt the control arm and get it out of the way. But it's worth a shot, right? It'll be a little easier to get these from the top. Got it. Just give you a better comparison of what I was talking about. So they're facing the same way. Steering rack, that's backwards, that's forwards. So you can see how far forward these slots are versus these. These are almost behind the center line. These are way forward of the center line. Again, the reason we're doing this is because the conversion mounts are designed around an S13, thus an S13 subframe, thus this engine mount positioning, not this one. Now, we could have made our own mounts or something, but those beautiful Billet Toge factory mounts, you know, you gotta have the bling, right? So anyway, let's try to toss this guy back in there. It wasn't that bad getting it out. Might be a little trickier getting it in. This one's definitely lighter. This one's got a lot more material on it. That was really pretty easy. Honestly, came out, or went in easier than it came out. Not bad. I was like, I wasn't sure how that was gonna go. I was either gonna have to disassemble the whole front suspension to get this done or not. And we are gonna be changing a lot of the front suspension components. I was like, yo, I wanna wait. But my goal was to kind of get the engine in as quick as possible and figure out what I need, what I don't need, what might not fit, what I might have to change, what I might have to make, and then worry about doing all the other stuff. One step at a time, boys. One at a time. Well, sweet, man. I'm super hyped on that. Thing fits good, looks nice in there, all freshly painted and scratched up. I'm really glad it fit though. I was not sure if it would fit or not. I figured it would fit, but usually I just wing it anyway. So I'm glad it worked out. Moral of the story. Well, boys, I think that's about all we've got for this video. I was planning to get the pan on and all that stuff, but my lack of foresight missed ordering the oil pump, so we can't do that. But yeah, I mean, I guess we got a decent bit done. Motor stripped down. You know, it's healthy. That's nice. We got all our swap parts. We got our subframe swapped. So once those parts show up, we can slam this thing in. I think I'm going to go ahead and order the valve springs and do that now. I was kind of on the fence about putting the motor in, getting everything done, pulling it back out, painting the bay, putting the springs in, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and put them in now because the goal is to get this car done for Drift Week, and that's in like a month and a half. So, I mean, totally doable, but not necessarily dry build, pull it out, paint, put it back. Doable. We kind of need to just get it running now, get the Drift Week. Once Drift Week's over, then we can take it apart, paint the bay, make it all nice. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how things go. But either way, I need to order the springs and retainers and all this stuff to build the head so we can rev this thing to the moon. But for now, I got to get the Miata ready for a drift event, get loaded up because we're going drifting tomorrow at a kart track, which is really cool. We've never really had drifting there. It's kind of like a trial run that we got invited to be a part of the first one. So I'm excited about that. I think it's going to, I love drifting kart tracks. So I hope to see you guys for that. But for now, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.